Hello, Williamson County Emergency Services. I'm Tania Glenn, and I wanted to present to you guys a very quick deployment brief. Please keep in mind that this is for all first responders, but please also do share it with your family members because they are going through the exact same thing that you guys are on a different level and from a different perspective. So what I'm presenting to you is a deployment brief that I have given to the Marine Corps when we were at war in Iraq and Afghanistan. We used this after Hurricane Harvey, and so we found it to be very effective, and hopefully you'll find this information to be super beneficial. So we're first going to talk about traumatic stress, and as you all know, we've educated you in the past about how it all starts with that fight or flight response. Well, what's happened, you guys, is with all the stress and all the activation and everything going on, you guys have activated into fight or flight at a low-grade fever level. You've maintained your vigilance, you are running calls, everything is just kind of a different perspective right now. So understand that your systems are producing a little more adrenaline, glucose, and cortisol than normal, and that has kind of launched you into this low-grade fever level of fight or flight consistently. It's why you're not sleeping well, it's why you're very vigilant. It's why you feel that sort of that neck pain, that back pain, that shoulder pain, that overall stress of everything that you're going through because you are already in that activation. Now we've talked about this too. Here comes the aftermath of that prolonged fight or flight response. We call it the parasympathetic nervous system backlash or the adrenaline dump. So this is coming, and what happens at the end of every disaster is people get sick. And so what we want to do is we want to arm your systems with as much resilience as we can right now. And what that means is that you're going to practice very, very good hygiene, obviously, and really good health. What I always recommend is that you guys add vitamin C and zinc to your regimen immediately. Papa C and Papa Zinc twice a day. The emergency packs, if you have those at home, please start to add one to water in the morning and then drink one again in the evening. Those emergency packs are very, very effective in arming your system against the colds that are coming at the end of this. One of my customers is in charge of the medical and the law enforcement for Burning Man, and the year that they added those emergency packs, their sick rate at the end of the Burning Man deployment went significantly down. So I highly recommend those. Let's get those started now, and certainly if you have a stash at home, let's start using those. Okay, so now I want to talk to you about the phases of this deployment. So the pre-deployment already occurred. It was when we were kind of getting news of what was happening and sort of getting a sense that things were changing and maybe we were facing a pandemic. So we're past that, right? And what happened at the same time that you guys were ramping up, so were your family members. They were watching the news. They were understanding that you were going to have to go in and probably work some extra hours, be exposed to some critical patients, some really sick patients that you were going to have to start to sort of ramp up your response, and we weren't just kind of in normal operations mode from day to day. Now we're in the phase of becoming deployment wise, which means that we're just getting a rhythm of how we're going to do this. And we're learning a lot, and we're getting new protocol, we're getting our supplies, we're doing all these things. And at the same time, your family is getting used to the fact that you're at this different stress level, that you're operating at a different level, that your energy is different, that you're not sleeping as well, that maybe you're a little grumpier than normal, and you're, all these things. So your family is actually mirroring your process as well. Then at some point we hit the period of maximum efficiency, and that is when we just get in this battle rhythm. We're just kind of going, we're rolling with it. We're going day to day, we're getting kind of used to this. We've got a good operational tempo. We have everything we need in terms of how to respond to this, and we get in that easy battle rhythm of just the day to day. Your family members will do that as well, and then they'll sort of roll with your punches as well. And then what happens at the end is the exhaustion. And the exhaustion is, I always liken these types of events to marathons versus sprints. So the exhaustion is mile 20. We're going to hit that wall in that marathon, and everybody just gets tired. What I caution you in terms of exhaustion is that, again, back to the marathon analogy, what I want you to do is I want you to run through the finish line, not to the finish line. We noticed when we were at war in Iraq that when Marines were told that they had, maybe they had done a 6-month deployment and they were extended for a month, they felt like it was the end of the world. Like they couldn't fathom another month there, and then they realized it's just another 1 month, we can do this. But initially there's a really strong reaction. So remember to run through the finish line. We are going to be exhausted at the end of this. If you get tagged with some overtime, some extra shifts, some standbys, some things that you have, that you really didn't anticipate, understand that this too shall pass. We will get through this, and let's embrace and understand that you're just tired. And when you're tired, our moods aren't as good, our communication isn't as good, and we've got some work to do just to make sure we keep going and we finish this in the manner we want to. And then there's the post-deployment, because it doesn't end with this deployment, right? What happens when things calm down and we start to get back to normal? There's a sense of like a honeymoon, like, oh, I'm so glad this is over, and yay, I have my life back, and we have normalcy back. And then what happens is it's kind of like reality kicks in. I think reality kicks in a little bit later for a lot of first responders, because during this activation, you're just in go mode, right? You're running and gunning and you're taking care of business. And then sometimes we look back at what we just went through and it's like, wow, that was awful. That was horrible. That really took a lot out of me. And at that point, we hit that fatigue, right? So we feel like maybe our energy is low for a few weeks. We feel kind of like complacent and blah, and we don't feel like, taking care of ourselves, and we just kind of hit this wall. And we tend to get into this slump. And this is really kind of congruent with that parasympathetic nervous system backlash, when you just don't feel well and you feel like you want to skip everything and just hibernate in your bed, which we'll talk about that in just a minute, because that's not the best option, right? Then we get to rehabituation, which means that we start to review and renew our sense of purpose and mission. That means we start to run calls differently again, meaning back to normal versus through this crisis. We kind of get in that rhythm of being less vigilant and just our normal operational routine of how we run our calls and do our shifts day in and day out. So that rehabituation is a little bit of a transition back to normalcy, but normalcy will not feel normal for a while because you have to transition back to it. You'll deal with your family. Your family has gone through the same phases, and so understand that sometimes some issues may come up, like, you were really grumpy during this, you weren't communicating well. And what do we do with those issues? Well, as family, remember that we attack the problems, not each other. We communicate openly, we problem solve, we work through, we give ourselves the grace and the dignity to recognize that, yeah, we weren't at our best, and we'll do better, right? And we'll keep moving forward. And so have those conversations in a really constructive way. And then society. So we will get back to our normal view of society. We may, for a while, be a little bit resentful of society, given the fact that, what has happened in our communities and some of the behaviors of the citizens. We'll get through that. We'll get past that. Just remember that if you're resentful about some of the conduct of some of the members of society, we don't take those out on our customers on call. So when you're on a call as patrol, or in communications, or on a medical call, we don't take that out on the people we serve, because that's really important to remember. So now I want to talk to you about stress management. This is really important. This is every day, right? One of the best things you can do is talk it out, right? Talk about the who, what, when, where, and how, right? Talk about what has happened on your shifts. Really find either your peer support team, or come to us for, to hash it out, your family members, each other, your buddies on shift, whatever it is, just keep talking about it. The more we keep talking, the more we keep processing, and the more we keep kind of downloading and offloading kind of the junk that gets caught up in our brains. So do keep talking about it, right? Exercise, the biggest bang for your buck, right? Now, what happens during events like this, we're tired, right? We don't sleep well, and the last thing we want to do is get up and work out. And for myself personally this morning, I didn't sleep well last night, worried about you guys, and I woke up and I thought, well, maybe I'll just skip my workout this morning. And I knew that's the worst thing I could do. Once I got into it, it was such an awesome feeling. I was offloading all that stress. So don't forget that even though you're tired, that exercise regimen is really, really the biggest bang for your mental health buck. And don't forget to relax, right? In your off time, make sure you have that relaxation time. You're going to make some fun plans with your family. You're going to do light things. You're going to enjoy it. You're going to have, dance-offs in your living room, or whatever it is. Just relax and just be in the moment. Make sure you eat right. Okay, now we're on the go. It's a lot of fast food. It's a lot of unhealthy food. There's a lot of sugar and a lot of caffeine in every disaster, always, right? So what you want to do is you want to balance that out with the good food, and make sure that you are eating right as often as you can. Remember, you are what you eat. Get your vitamin C and your zinc. Take your vitamins every day, right? And then watch the substance abuse. The two worst things that you can do to your mental health during stress or after stress is quitting working out and copious amounts of alcohol. So be very, very cautious with all of that. And also watch those sleeping aids, the Lunesta and the Ambiens. Those prescription sleeping aids are very, very habit forming, so be very cautious. Even the over-the-counter stuff can be very dangerous. Try a melatonin if you can't fall asleep. Try a Benadryl. Those are your last resort, and those drugs are actually indicated for PRN use only, so they're not every single night. So be very, very cautious with the sleeping aids. Don't forget to keep your sense of humor. Remember, you have to laugh. Humor is great medicine. During crises, you have to laugh, right? You have to have fun. You have to do that. When this is all done and you want to take your time off, plan your time off, right? That's okay. At the end of all this, you might need to plan for some time off, right? And spend some time with your family. Really connect with them when you can, and make sure that you guys are communicating well and staying really in sync with each other. Don't forget to pace yourselves. What I do during disasters is I wake up every day and I just have this mental dialogue with myself. Okay, today is this day. We have these things going on. Our mission is this. At this point, we're here in the process of this. At some point, this will end, right? And I really try to make sure that every day, especially when I'm deployed or I'm on a busy routine or rhythm or shift, is I try to make sure that I call home, that you FaceTime your family, those kinds of things. Because pacing yourself through this and maintaining your connection with the outside world is very, very important. Right? Stick to your schedule as much as you can. On your days off, if you sleep half the day away, you're not going to sleep well that night. Maybe you have to go back to work the next day, and so you're coming to work already with a deficit. So be really cautious of that. Just stick to your schedule as much as you can. Get up and go to bed at the same time every day if possible. Watch those big decisions until life becomes normal again. A lot of times in disasters, we decide life is short and life is sweet, and so we want to make these monumental changes. But think of this. Right now, our brains, it's like when you are having surgery and the doctor tells you don't make any legal decisions the rest of the day after your surgery because your brain is in anesthesia haze. And right now, our brain is in a little bit of that anesthesia haze. Right? Give yourself the time and the grace to get to those decisions later, okay? And do set limits on the amount of time you work. So in other words, if you are needing help and you are needing some time and you are at maximum capacity and you recognize that in yourself, please do reach out to your supervisors for help and to shift your schedule if needed. Don't forget to have your life outside the job. Very, very important. Make those plans once this is over. Make those plans to have a good time, to decompress. Very important. Right? And deal with your issues. Come on in and deal with them. Our practice is fully operational. We want you to come in and deal with them. You guys remember this continuum on any given day where we always ask our first responders to come to work is with high resilience. What that means is that you are bouncing back from adversity, that you're feeling good, you're physically healthy, you're mentally healthy. The things that slide you from high to moderate to low are things like copious amounts of alcohol, not getting enough rest, not eating right, fighting with your family, not dealing with your finances. All of those things slide your resilience to low. So remember, we want you to come to work with high resilience every day. When you do, you bounce back from adversity much better. So if you're exposed to a significant trauma and your resilience is already high, you're going to do okay. When your resilience is low, the comeback is a very significant struggle. As we wrap up, what I want to remind you is that your resilience means that you're living the best life possible, right? Right now, it's not so great. But if you've come into this disaster and you've generally been okay, and you're dealing with life issues as they come up, and you're managing your finances, and you're working on your marriage or your relationships, that means that your resilience is good, right? And you're starting with a good, solid foundation. It means that we're constantly working to function at the best level possible. And right now, that best level possible might just be a simple rhythm of working, eating, and sleeping, and spending time with family. And that's it for now. And as we move through this, then it will increase, your life will increase, and you'll add more things to it. So in a nutshell, your hydration, nutrition, rest, and exercise. Small changes in those pay off big. Hydration, nutrition, rest, and exercise. Your family, your faith, your friends, and your hobbies, your life outside the job. Even just an hour or two here or there is going to help you a lot. And then also keeping in mind that alcohol, big, big devil when it comes to crises and traumas. The worst thing you can do for your mental health, like I said earlier, is to drink copious amounts of alcohol and quit working out. And then there's your altruism. You guys, don't forget why you do what you do. And your family members love you for this. They're along for this bumpy ride because they know that this is who you are. There's this thing called Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and in the very top of the pyramid of the hierarchy of needs is this thing called self-actualization, which means paying it forward. And you all came to this profession because you have been in the top of Maslow's hierarchy of needs in self-actualization probably since you were like 15 years old. You set out on a path, you put yourself through an academy. I mean, you went through all the rigors of paramedic school or a police academy or learning how to be a communications dispatcher. and you train and you work and you expose yourself to all kinds of stressful things. And here you are. And this is your time to rise to this challenge, to take really good care of yourself, your coworkers, and your family members. But this is who you are, and this is why you do what you do. And the last thing I want to say about altruism is this. You guys are amazing, amazing human beings. Don't ever forget why you do what you do, because your altruism brings so much compassion and kindness and life-saving behaviors to the communities and the cities in this county. There are citizens here who will never forget you for your kindness. They see you in the grocery store, they know exactly who you are because they will never forget your face. You have slept since then, maybe you don't remember that call, but they know exactly who you are because you sat with them on the couch and explained everything going on to their loved one. Maybe you explained it 17 times because they couldn't hear you the first 16, and they will never forget you for your kindness. And this is why you do what you do. Don't ever forget why you do what you do, because we love you. And last but not least, here's our practice information. If you guys are struggling, if you want a phone consult, right? Currently we are under different types of actions in terms of telemedicine and telehealth. We can do FaceTime sessions now. We can have phone sessions. You can come into our office in Cedar Park. You are more than welcome to do what you need to do. But please reach out if you are struggling, even if you want to chat for 10, 15 minutes about this thing going on, or your concerns or your worries, or even your family members, if they're struggling, if they're home alone, if they feel like they're not going to get through this well enough, then have them call in. We want to take care of you and your family members. We are available. So please understand that when you reach out, it is confidential, that we are not going to disclose anything on any sort of documentation to the county. We have your back. We absolutely adore you, and thank you all for what you do.